So I think Harry's motivation for writing Spare was partly redemption, partly revenge, but mainly to get his own truth, something he refers to a lot, out there. So he felt the need to give, everything from his childhood through to his adulthood, putting it all in context, explaining why he feels like he does. I think he felt that would be therapeutic, cathartic. Don't think he intended to harm anyone, but I think actually the fallout from writing this book has been quite destructive in its own way. I don't think the book is a cry for help. I think the book is his need, perhaps a form of catharsis, if you like, to get out of his system everything that's bottled up, all that trauma, all those concerns, all that anguish. He needed to get that down on paper. He needed to get it out there so people could see it. I feel it could be a cry for help, but I don't think that's what he intended it to be. When I was watching Harry being interviewed by Tom Bradby, there seemed to be a lot of contradictions in what he was saying. He was effectively accusing his family of being against him, but then admitting that he was similar to them in the beginning. It all seemed a bit jumbled up. I felt he didn't really know his own mind, and I still feel like that. And I think the position he's in, or he's put himself in, is what I'd call Knight on a Charger syndrome. Or Messiah complex. I think he believes he's the only person who can save the royal family. They have to adapt to it. It's his way or no way. They have to adapt to modernise, to modify themselves to the way that he believes they should. And unless they do that, I get the sense he genuinely believes that they don't really stand a chance of surviving, and he's actually doing a very good thing by spelling all this out, even if he didn't intentionally want to hurt them. I'm not sure that Harry genuinely wants a reconciliation with his family. He certainly states that he does, but my feeling is he knows he won't get an apology. He's unlikely to get a reconciliation. I think what he's done actually is to almost ensure that they won't apologise, and therefore, because they won't say anything, because they are the palace after all, that affirms that he was in the right. By them not actually saying anything in response, that means he was right all along. I think that's the way he is trying to work it out in his mind. I don't think he's seriously expecting a reconciliation.
I don't think they were ever expecting me to get into a relationship with someone like Meghan, who had, a very successful career. There was a lot of stereotyping that was happening that I was guilty of as well at the beginning.
What do you mean by that?
American actress, right? And that was playing out in the British press, in the media at the time as well.
When he describes about Meghan being in his life, my recollections, and of course they do vary, but were that she was kind of welcomed and embraced. And I think his truth, the truth he often talks about, has somehow reverted that. I think they were happy to accept the fact that he was happy. It sort of went wrong after that, but it's that slightly distorted memory, which I think may have come out of having a lot of therapy, is that they didn't like her instantly. We don't know what the truth is, but that wasn't the sense I think that any of us got. Okay, so there's something called false memory syndrome, which often comes about due to certain forms of therapy. Hypnosis is one, where you have guided imagery type therapy. EMDR is another. So what happens is they peel away the layers to get to the truth. You remember something, perhaps not quite correctly, but it's reinforced and it's looked at again and it's delved into. And essentially, the memory that isn't quite the right memory then gets reinstalled, reprogrammed into your head as being the absolute fact. And a lot of therapy, particularly hypnosis, if you've had any form of hypnotic therapy, that will tend to reinforce false memory syndrome more than most. So I think Harry's entire life, from when he was 12 years old, has all been about not being able to get over the deep, profound trauma of his mother's death, not just the death, but also what happened at the funeral, walking behind the cortege, having to smile at people as a 12-year-old when your mother's just died, was very difficult. I felt he coped with it. He seemed to cope with it at the time, but clearly it came back to him. He's had therapy for it, but he seems almost stuck in that place. He can't move on from that. He takes very little accountability or responsibility for anything that happens, but tends to blame others. And I feel all that blame that he projects onto his brother, or onto his father, actually all of it comes from the trauma he still feels so deeply from the death of his mother. He doesn't seem to have moved beyond that 12-year-old boy in a lot of ways, in spite of the fact that he has his own wonderful family. Well, Harry's always had an issue with the way the media has spun his endeavours. Interestingly, Army protocol would say you do not say how many people you've killed. I don't think he was boasting, but perhaps he shouldn't have mentioned it. But for him to say it was taken out of context, when in fact it's his book with his words, maybe ghostwritten, but he's read the book out as an audiobook, it's in context. You can't help but lift a number out of that. That's not spin by the media. That is just taking a sentence from within context from his book. And I just feel he's a very confused man. He's very troubled. He's got this paranoia or this obsession about the media deconstructing everything he does and representing it in a different way.
My words are not dangerous, but the spin of my words are very dangerous.
During the interview with Anderson Cooper, I felt Harry was a bit mean, a bit unfair to his brother. He went on about his balding and something else, or other things about his appearance, and then he smirked. He gave a very clear smirk. So that to me indicates resentment, bitterness. You know, it's not nice. And then follows it up by saying, again, I never intended to hurt any of my family. But whether he intended to or not, even just seeing that smirk would make you think that he had a notion that it might hurt them.
I don't see it as cutting at all. My brother and I love each other.
During both the Anderson Cooper interview and the Tom Bradby interview, Harry clearly states that he dearly loves his brother. I believe he probably does love his brother, but layered over that love is a lot of anger, resentment, hurt, bitterness, revenge. So, yeah, I don't doubt he loves him, but he's certainly not expressing it very clearly in his current frame of mind. So when you listen to him saying that it wasn't Meghan's arrival that threatened the royal family in any way, it then appears that actually Harry giving his full picture, as he calls it, there has been resentment there for a long time. It's been building up, perhaps his whole adult life. And so perhaps they were destined, that family, to never work, whether Meghan came along or not. So again, it's slightly contradictory to what he's previously said about the fact that everything was great until Meghan arrived in the family. As far as positives from the book, I thought actually it was positive for Harry. I thought there was a cathartic effect and he would be able to move on perhaps from writing the book. I now think, because he said he's got more to write, more things to tell, that actually I think he's getting himself deeper into difficulty. This doesn't seem to have brought him any closure, any comfort, any peace. He can't let it go. So do I think there's anything good about the book? Not really. Do I think he should write another one? Definitely not.